Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast. The question that we ask, is Mr. Sinister okay? Is he doing all right? Is everything okay with Mr. Sinister?
He's living his best life, and he's gone full Alucard.
I mean, he is. This is so. I don't normally like this kind of stuff that's so over the top and like complete camp. But this is such like. I mean, just the outfits and the ideas involved and everything in this is so campy to me. And if it was anything other than Kieran Gillen, I don't know that they could pull it off because Jesus Christ, it's just great.
It's the big Morrison vibes to me. To this, the idea of this. I'm way into it. I got to read all the stuff that does this. We read Uncanny X-Men 13, and it was not about this.
No.
This is a big departure, and this out of all the ones that we're doing probably has the least connection to the main plot. This is Sinister's underground London. Preparing for maybe getting attacked by the X-Men?
Yeah, maybe. We don't know. Like, he doesn't actually know. He's just kind of setting it up. So, as a little background, because I don't think... I know you don't know what's been happening, but back in San Francisco, like, a Celestial just sat down in a park.
Okay.
And there was a bunch of, like, bullshit that people had to be involved with, but the X-Men were kind of involved in that whole thing. And you can read about that in... Neil Gaiman's Eternals run, which everyone told me was like the one to read if you want to understand the Eternals, and it absolutely was not true. Like, that did not. I came out of that knowing just a couple of names.
You knew less about the Eternals than when you went in.
Yeah. Kumail was not even in there. That's what all I'm saying is he didn't even show up once. But after the Celestial just sits down and everyone's like, okay, we're just going to leave it here for a little while, Mr. Sinister shows up, and Mr. Sinister has this whole thing. Everyone thought he was dead, but it turns out he had some machine that transfers his consciousness to a designated party after he dies. And then he steals a bunch of celestial energy and he starts making a bunch of clones. He makes a theme park full of like X-Men death traps. The X-Men have to fight him.
Yes.
I mean, it gets out of the box weird. And then that somehow results in this, where he is posted up in the caves, the Moloid caves underneath London. It's exterminated a bunch of Moloids, whatever the fuck those are, and then set up a fucking castle with a gun on the top of it.
Yep, with his face, a giant stained glass window of his face that's the size of most buildings.
God, it's so good, Gary. This is exactly who I want Mr. Sinister to be.
Mr. Sinister has been struggling to find something cool to be for a real long time. You know, like I like the old Mr. Sinister stories, but for a while he just came back and was just Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
And his plots could have been done by Apocalypse, right? Executioner's Song, which is an early 90s crossover I have some affection for, is kind of a big pileup of all the X-Men villains doing schemes. And Mr. Sinister and Apocalypse are both in it. But it's that shitty early 90s Scott Lobdell, like, who's working for who? You know, they'll never say. This has its own identity. It feels like this is distinctly Sinister.
Absolutely.
Which I really love.
And not the least of which because he made a bunch of Mr. Sinister clones and gave them all individual Mr. Sinister jobs to do, including one of which is just to report on the doings of Mr. Sinister.
And one of which is to rebel against Mr. Sinister. It's so good. The Moloids are Mole Man's little people.
Oh, okay. I kind of figured that, but yeah.
So I would also read that comic. And here they do it with pith helmets and like colonialism. This is an Anglophile Mr. Sinister, which makes sense. He's from London. He was friends with Charles Darwin. I want to call it the art. Okay. In this issue. I don't know this guy. I've never seen this guy before. This is Dustin Weaver. I really like this.
Just from the cover, you know, like you're in for something really, really special. Like it's just got a real like, I guess like almost painterly look about it. Like a color. Just the colors and like the way that everything is detailed looks really dramatically different than like normal quote unquote comic books. As soon as I saw this cover, I was like, let's fucking go. Yeah, it's like it's almost like color pencil. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry, I said painting. And there's not a color pencil.
There's not a Inkist, a separate inker credited, which makes you wonder what's going on. The colorist for this is a guy named Jim Charalampidis.
There you go.
Charalampidis. Sure. I don't know. But I just want to give them credit because they're doing cool work.
Yes. And the cover of this is absolutely amazing. We've got Mr. Sinister holding Cyclops' skull in one hand.
Which is still wearing the visor.
Wearing the visor, which is really... Because he had to put the visor on the skull. Like, he had to he took the skull, cleaned it all of any flesh, and then, like, carefully placed the visor back on. Probably put some padding in to make sure it still held, would stay on without falling off and everything. And then Mr. Sinister just dressed up to the nines, like he is like ruling a
like
small
Alucard.
country. Yeah,
it just looks like Symphony of the Night. Sinister. It's great. Really, God, just incredible stuff. This poster there, this cover, I would love this as without the AVX branding.
Yes,
like I would put this up as a poster. I think this is badass looking.
And then we get into the issue, which, as we mentioned, is going to take place from the perspective of one of the many Mr. Sinister clones. This dude is a reporter, and he kind of questions through a lot of like relatively flowery language and really good. Like all of the writing in this is very solid.
Yeah.
But he's gonna like have this inner running monologue of questioning Mr. Sinister's like approach to this civilization that he's creating underground and the reasons that he's doing it. And specifically, his whole goal is to be able to get Mr. Sinister alone, so not so he can kill him, but so he can take them somewhere else. Because if he just kills him, his consciousness is going to get transferred to another clone. Nothing really changes. So he's just basically trying to capture him to this lab where he's got a chair set up, which presumably will stop him from transferring his conscious elsewhere.
He wants to like reprogram him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like his whole thing is like, I can't change the society, so I'll change the architect of it. And they introduce an important detail here. Like, I hadn't been reading any of the lead up to this, but if you pay attention, there's like cool details. The real Mr. Sinister has a red diamond. The rest of them have white diamonds. That's how you can tell which one is like Sinister Prime. And they show this really early with him unrolling his Mr. Sinister carpet, which I would also use.
I would have this in my house. I would have this tapestry in my house. Like, I'll maybe hang it on the wall. It might be too fine to put on the floor. I'm just saying.
To walk on. I want the Garfield house from I Think You Should Leave, but the Sinister house.
Yes.
His plan is to use Mr. Sinister Prime's narcissism against him. Mm-hmm. And we get to see the whole thing about this. This is Sinister London that he's built beneath the Earth's surface. It's like an 1800s London with like double-decker buses and shit. And pork pie hats and waistcoats and shit like that. Union Jacks, but all Mr. Sinister and all underground.
Yes. And I want to stress that.
Dumb.
Like, not just all Mr. Sinister. Every single person is a Mr. Sinister. Kids, adults. There's no women here. We'll get to that in just a second. But like every single person that you see in this comic book is a Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, it's a thing. I think I told you about this when I watched that video about the Tumblr thing about the Onceler. Mm-hmm. The villain from the Lorax that Tumblr got obsessed with and then made fan fiction about societies that were all the Onceler and they were oppressed and stuff from the DreamWorks Lorax movie. It's like that, but a good version of it. Like, it makes sense because this is something Mr. Sinister would do.
Yes, 100%.
Everything Mr. Sinister Prime says in this is incredible. And I read it in Alan Rickman's voice as the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Okay. Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that one. Absolutely.
Yeah. Bring me Robin Hood and make him kneel before me. Everything should be like that.
And this whole society is, and the problem with our main character, our main reporter, our Rebel Sinister, if you will, not Rebel Wilson, Rebel Sinister, two different people.
It's weird that this is above an underground society of all Rebel Wilson. Like Rebel Wilson Pittsburgh is right below Sinister London.
Stop stealing my design for Pitch Perfect 5, Gary. I had this whole thing. I was ready to pitch the whole thing to Hollywood, and now you're stealing it. But this whole thing, his question is if he actually has free will, or if anybody in this civilization has free will. And I really like some of the language that's used here. Like he says, I have a toothache of free will. It pains me. Just the idea, like it hurts him because he realizes he could just go along and get along with all of this, but he just can't do it. He can't let go of this idea. So he's come up with this different way of reprogramming. Main Mr. Sinister. And then we get to kind of our main part of the plot where he's interviewing Sinister's Prime. And we start off with the cows.
It's all fucking incredible. Like, these lines are the dumbest thing in the world in a vacuum, just come off great. Like, where he's like, why cows? And Mr. Sinister's like, milk is splendid. It's a sentence. Like, can you imagine the wiki quotes entry or like a Bartlett's Familiar quotation where it's like, milk is splendid, quote, Mr. Sinister. Like, going strong for milk.
And
it's so good.
And our rebel Sinister says, a realm with milk, but no milkmaids, which begs the question, like, and Sinister Prime jumps in. He's like, I have nothing against women, but I have nothing for them either. As he is peeking up, sipping a glass of what has to be fresh ass milk.
Dude, yeah, straight up warm, bloody milk directly from the teat. It's Oscar Wilde.
Yeah, dude, this is
it's exactly as gay and fabulous as Oscar Wilde is.
Oh man,
it's good.
And he says that we have creation engines, which is something with the celestial stuff. So that's how he's doing all of this. I don't remember exactly the mechanics of that because Celestials, whatever. Like, who cares? Mm-hmm. Hopefully that Eternals movie is better than the review bombs have been giving it.
I bet you it'll be fine.
I'm sure it's okay. Yeah. But he says, like, hey, we don't need women to create anything. So there's no point in cluttering the place up with their bodices and general frilliness.
Just gay misogynist, Mr. Sinister. I love them showing the creation engine and all the Mr. Sinisters walking out, including Fat Mr. Sinister, who shows up in front.
Yeah, just a little,
there's a Mr. Sinister of every body type now.
Yeah, just like a little Dark Souls character creator in there in the creation engine.
Yeah,
the Dark Souls creation engine would actually be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jolly Kareem Sinister. And then he's saying that if the creation engine went out, half of the species would turn into a lady so they can breed more. And the guy's like, well, but then they'll turn back into men, right? And he's going on about this. Like, it's just a weird fucking conversation until he sees a moloid crawl out of the ground, gets a gun from a little boy Sinister, and shoots the moloid with his plasma gun.
Yes. And we get like a little history that he had the way he got this space was by murdering a bunch of these people. Like, he put together what looks like an old time English army, but with plasma guns, to kill off a bunch of presumably innocent moloids. I can't imagine these moloids were up to a bunch of drama or anything, like just waiting on Mole Man to come hang out, or like,
yeah, they're it depends on who's writing them. Like, sometimes the moloids are fine and sometimes they're monsters. But they definitely don't deserve to be colonialized. Like, they straight up pith helmets, like in like the English in India.
Crazy, Gary.
Yeah, it's fucking, and we're like page 3. Everything is so fucking good. And the guy's like, oh, so you're hiding from the X-Men? And he's like, well, it's for now. And here's where our tiny little tie-in. He's like, they have Phoenix powers, which means they'll come soon enough. And later he says, they'll have so much power, at some point they'll decide the world will be better without Mr. Sinister.
Yes.
And so that's the idea.
And then he tries to kind of divert this whole line of questioning by talking about how the milk isn't actually milk, but it's a nutrient enriched brew. And the guy's like, hey, you're avoiding my question. He's like, don't worry, I'll get to it later. Which is a little bit of foreshadowing. And we kind of get a tour of the civilization where we just have a bunch of like worker bee, Mr. Sinister's like out in the field, like, bringing in the hay.
Laser scythes.
With laser
they have lightsaber scythes. He trains his marauders, which are his army, shooting Sinisters, of course, because they have no heads.
Yeah. Why would they need a head?
They breed Sinisters with no heads to use them as target practice.
I mean,
like, this is so full of cool detail in this thing.
You save on matter, you gotta feed that creation engine runs on something.
Yeah. It's so the factories, they weave these guns using celestial looms, and they talk about people lose their fingers in the thing, Industrial Revolution stuff. And while this is happening, the interviewer Sinister is getting pissed. He's like, they say civilization brings man from beasthood. I think it's the opposite. This is a perfect civilization, so it'll create the perfect beast.
Yeah.
In this Mr. Sinister,
which is like, kind of the point where you realize, like, oh, this dude's a little fucked up too. Like, he's not necessarily the hero of this story. Like, if you're thinking that all civilization turns men into beasts, you're probably coming at this from a weird angle, my dude. So
yeah, he's a real second edition D&D druid kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He shows Sinister shows him his castle, and he's like, "Isn't that a little anachronistic?" And he's like, "Oh, please, everyone loves a castle." And they show his gigantic castle with the gun and the huge stained glass Sinister face.
I mean, this thing is
incredible.
just amazing. Like, I love the idea that he even positioned it so like it's over most of the city, but there's still a cliff that you can walk up and like see it see it below you. Like, perfect castle planning, man. It's perfect. Who's your architect? Let me get that number.
Yeah, dude. Hitman level set in the Sinister Underground.
100%, dude.
Yeah, give me that, please. Really awesome. I love everything about it.
Since our wish has been granted, and finally, after years of talking about it, they're going to make an X-Men Tactics game. We should really just start like manifesting into existence a Hitman X-Men game at this point. Like it'll happen.
Incredible.
We just do the podcast for another 5 years, and like they'll listen. Like they'll have to.
Yeah, just please. There's a little bit more of his dialogue about how he feels like he's rebelling against order and such. He tries to get him. I think that Sinister is seducing himself.
Yes, definitely what it feels like.
Yeah, he's like, my private quarters are here. The menagerie is more interesting. And the rebel Sinister says, "I'd prefer the quarters first. I'm always taught to finish my vegetables and other green slurry before dessert," with like a little smile. Basically, like, "Hey man, we're the same guy. Do you want to fuck?
Do you want to get down? Know. Yeah, like, I mean, you're the guy here, but also I get just as horny as you do. So let's do this."
And exactly at the same time, we've synchronized our cycles. So he's going to take a picture, but he has this special camera that teleports him and Sinister to his underground chair. There. And he starts doing his villains or his hero speech. Basically, "I've changed you, you buffoon. I'm going to use this machine." And there, the facade of the red crystal falls off the Sinister.
Yes.
Onto the ground,
revealing that he was a fake Sinister all along. And Sinister Prime.
I love that anyone could just put one of these on their forehead and be like, "I'm God."
I mean, just like a scrap of construction paper, and like, okay, you guys have to bow to me for a little while.
Guess you're the boss. And then he's like, "How could you dare mistake him for me?" And Sinister comes out, and it's because everyone looks the fucking same.
Yeah, it's like, you guys are dressed the same, you sound the same, you both have the same red diamond, like everything is the same. And our real Sinister explains like this whole thing is a system. Sinister is a system, and we need rebels in that system to be able to test the system itself. Because if it can't withstand a challenge from the status quo, then the system needs to be overturned. We need to change it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
so good.
Yeah. And he says, and unfortunately, like, that's your part, but unfortunately, that part is over now. And they're going to kick him out of the city and make presumably just a bunch of Sinister dogs. Like,
no, dude. Like, it's cooler than that. Like, he's like, "It's the hounds. We're going to get there." He says, like, send our hounds after them.
Okay, I just figured. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we get to see what it is. It's way cooler. It's like, "Oh, take them all. They need exercise." So they show that they have him in the cave running away. He's going to go to his grave protesting he was a free man. We see the feet and hands of these hounds. When they reveal him, it's clones of Sabretooth. He just has 1,000 Sabretooths he treats as dogs.
This is fucking awesome, dude. And they literally start eating him. They eat this dude. It is gross.
And then he can taste it. They set it up so main Sinister can taste anything the other Sinisters are eating.
Dude, this absolutely villain ideas, dude. That's fucking foul and amazing. I love it.
This is my comment. This is my favorite thing we've done for this run. Not this podcast, but this run. This is my favorite AVX comic. It's so good. So he's talking about it. He's talking about how the X-Men will come for them. This world will be better without Sinister in it. And he's like, "They'll go to my castle, but I think they're going to face some surprises." We go into his menagerie where he has clones of all the X-Men who are naked. In there, including tons of Remy LeBeaus that just go, "Ma chère, ma chère, ma chère." And it's like, "Oh, is the accent genetic?" He's like, No. I trained him because it's folksy and charming.
He taught them how to speak Creole. What the fuck, Mr. Sinister?
But I left him brain damaged because Mr. LeBeau leaned that way. Holy shit.
That's so evil.
Yeah. Oh my God. Ma chère. It's so dumb and good. And I cannot wait for the X-Men to go here and just fight a zoo full of like X-Men.
Oh, dude. And look, in the background, he's got some mystiques happening. in there.
Yep.
Like he's got like there's a phalanx section that's just like a bunch of weird.
There's a pool.
Oh, dude, this is great. This is so
There's
good.
Guthrie
Yeah,
pool.
there's a
It's exciting. This is exciting.
Dude, this is so awesome. I am so excited about all of this. What a great just plan in general. And then of course it's Mr. Sinister, so he has to like talk for a long time about how he was really the one to whisper into Hope Summers' ear about, you know, having to run away, and that the Avengers would like he's either pretending or he was actually like the mastermind behind some of this stuff. Which
he was Unit, or you know, and Unit had some kind of fabulous fopness to him. He says he's like, you know, the Phoenix chose a bad host. Like I knew this would happen, so I prepared a better one for him. And he has a ballroom full of clones of Madeline Pryor wearing crazy electric laser dresses.
Fucking A, dude.
Dude, I'm just way into it. You know, and the idea that the Phoenix, like, the Phoenix is going to want to go to something it's been before. It went to Madeline Pryor because Jean Grey clone reasons, you know, or went to Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor as a clone of such. And it just ends with him with surrounded by these beautiful Madeline Pryor women saying, you know, in your own good time, Scott, I'll be ready when you are. I am so into this. It's ridiculous how into this I am.
It's so good.
Yeah.
This last page is maybe one of my favorite pages in X-Men history. Just him on the throne and many different uniformed Mr. Sinisters around, one with a top hat because why not? I just this is great.
Little Sinister lieutenants, you know. I want to fight a video game where you just go through Sinister World.
Right. And
this Sinister is the rapier finesse sword fighter, and this is the strong Sinister. You know, it just lends itself. I never thought the trick to making Mr. Sinister good was to make infinite of them. And now he's great.
Who knew that was a thing? That seems impossible. If you told me that the solution to me liking Mr. Sinister was to have a bunch of them, I would have laughed you out of the fucking room. I just wouldn't believe you.
Dude, if I was a teenager and being a shitty little teenager in 1994, right? You know, non-woke Gary, and I would have been like, listen, Gary, by the time you're 41, not only are you going to love Mr. Sinister, you're going to love that he's gay. I would have been like, whoa. I would not have believed it for a second. I would have was a shitty little teen, you know, that word meant bad because I was 14 and that's what it meant on TV and stuff. And now I'm so glad that I have changed and that comics have changed to allow for this.
Yes.
It's so good.
Even though people are still super mad that Superboy is super bi. So
yeah.
Oh well. Can't win them all, I guess.
Can't win them all. I mean, there's definitely I don't see Comicsgate people being mad about Mr. Sinister being gay. He's hiding in obscurity.
Yeah, seriously.
Marvel's over here well, Sinister will fuck anything, and it's not even worth a press release.
Not even on anybody's radar. He's Sinister will fuck anybody up to and including himself.
Yeah. Dark Horse candidate, man.
He's the one that installed that door between Scott and Jean's room and Wolverine's.
My plan comes to fruition.
I cannot wait to collect this DNA.
Oh, Scott, spread your DNA all over Wolverine's sideburn. Kneel before him. It's just fucking incredible. I'm so happy. I love it.
Great issue. Absolutely great issue. I'm so excited to read this. I just love this. The preview for the next one, they show the cover and it's it's Phoenix up Cyclops superimposed over Sinister and a Sinister army, and I don't know what could happen, but again, I trust in Kieran. So let's see what happens.
The next issue, which is Emma Frost versus Avengers Academy, if the second act of this is the Phoenix Five going off and fighting their own individual wars, I'm 100% here for it.
Oh, absolutely.
We never get their perspective. We just get the people they're up against.
Yeah.
I'm way less invested in the conflict of the next issue. But I still think that's cool.
I want to see Purgatory fight back against Magic. Just have no click. Wait a minute. She's way more powerful than she should be. Thank you everybody for listening. If you like and want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. You can also leave ratings and reviews on iTunes and various other podcasting services. You can go to the website. Shout outs to somebody who emailed us. Apologies, I forgot your name already. telling me that the Google Play link on our website was broken because Google no longer has Google Play. Like they switched services, so I had to go fix that. So all of our links work again, Gary. Yay! And if you want to support us even more, just follow us on Twitter or something. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, they're Twitter at JG Greer.
Yep.
And at Gary Ba.
Yep.
And then patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and ratings, reviews, and telling your friends.
I love it. We will be back in a couple of days with Adventures Academy number 32.